Meghan Markle preaches about being real, but whispers inside the palace claim her biggest secret might be her own age. She tells the world she's 44, but old alumni photos hint she could be creeping closer to 50. The Duchess, who built an empire on polished image, might have built it on edits instead. And Megyn Kelly just tore that glossy facade wide open. This wasn't a soft rumor. It was a bombshell. Kelly didn't casually throw shade. She looked right into the camera and asked the one question no one dared to voice.
We've got to talk about Meghan Markle.
I remember when she was born, big new addition to the family, and we just have a very young sister here.
Megyn Kelly has weighed in on Meghan Markle's failed plan.
She's absolutely ruthless.
Is Meghan Markle's age even real? That hit like dynamite. This wasn't speculation for clicks. It was a direct shot at the foundation of Meghan's entire brand. Because once the idea is planted that her real age doesn't match her claimed age, everything else in her story starts to look shaky. From her early Hollywood hustle to her royal fairy tale wedding, if the foundation is fake, what else has been edited along the way? And here's the kicker. This isn't random gossip floating around TikTok. It starts with a single snapshot, Northwestern University, early 2000s, a salsa club group picture, a sea of smiling faces. At first, it's just innocent nostalgia, but zoom in and the timeline feels suspicious. Most of those people were born in the early 1970s, which puts them solidly in their 50s today. And right there, standing in the back row, is Meghan Markle, supposedly born in 1981. If the official record is true, she should have been several years younger than that crowd. Instead, she blended in seamlessly with classmates nearly a decade older. Insiders claim that's not coincidence, that's evidence. A timeline mismatch, hiding in plain sight, and one questionable photo could be brushed off, but Meghan's trail is full of the same cracks. Classmates who don't align.
There's nothing original here.
I hope you're having the best birthday you've ever had. Thank you for everything.
Which is really such a...
Alumni records that don't match, birth certificates that seem to change depending on who's asking. It's not just messy, it's suspicious. And according to Palace Whispers, staff noticed these inconsistencies when she married into the monarchy. But unlike Hollywood casting directors who'll overlook a fudged resume, Buckingham Palace doesn't look the other way when documents don't add up. Every altered release, every too perfect photo, every shaky date deepens the suspicion. Suddenly, the fairy tale doesn't look magical. It looks manufactured. That's why the story snowballs so fast. With Meghan, the more you dig, the more it feels like you're peeling back pages from a script that's been rewritten, reshot, and resold as real life. Fans who once hailed her as an icon of authenticity are now blasting TikTok with theories and memes. If she can edit her kids' birth certificates, one viral commenter asked, "What else has she edited?" Another Reddit thread compared her to Hollywood actresses who shaved off years to keep landing roles. But here's the twist. Meghan didn't just land roles, she landed a royal title. That irony is brutal, because while actresses can lie on a resume, royals are supposed to live by records. And if those records don't hold up, the whole crown shakes. That was her goal. Hashtag goals. Meghan blurred the line so hard that critics now say the monarchy never truly recovered, and that's exactly why this age scandal refuses to die.
Meghan Markle's not an idiot.
I just made a little mark on my board and said, oh, there's another lie, click.
Yeah, she very clear idea of where she wanted her path to take.
It's not just about digits on a page, it's about trust. And that trust is collapsing in real time. Line up the salsa club photo, the alumni chatter, and those conveniently amended documents, and suddenly the cracks in her story widen into massive chasms. Meghan's carefully staged empire doesn't look solid anymore, as it looks fragile, stitched together with edits, illusions, and smoke. And once you spot the pattern, you can't unsee it. That's why Megyn Kelly's grenade hit so brutally. Like, she didn't just throw shade, she forced everyone to stare at the math. And the math? It doesn't sit right. The rumor didn't just stay in the shadows of Reddit threads, it exploded into full-blown internet chaos. TikTok edits splicing Meghan's supposed 1981 birth year next to the salsa club photo went viral, captions dripping with sarcasm. Math is hard, isn't it? Millions of views rolled in overnight. On Twitter, memes comparing Meghan to Benjamin Button spread like wildfire. Fans joking she was aging backwards faster than Hollywood's CGI de-aging tech. The laughs weren't kind either. They weren't laughing with her, they were laughing at her. And here's the real kicker. Once the internet smells weakness, it doesn't let go. Insiders say Meghan's team went into panic mode. According to one source, her PR staff started monitoring alumni forums, hunting down threads where her name was linked to suspicious timelines. The spin was textbook, blame palace paperwork, blame clerical Markle errors, blame literally anything but Meghan herself. But critics weren't buying a single excuse. Even media heavyweights jumped on the pile.
Believes she had a clear motive for writing family off because it would seemingly justify and perhaps delay the revelation of all of the lies that she had told the royal.
Piers Morgan seized the moment, branding the inconsistencies as just another example of Meghan Markle playing Hollywood dress-up with the monarchy. And what stung even worse, neutral outlets, the ones that usually keep it professional, started slipping in sly little digs. Reporters casually dropping lines about how timeline confusion always seems to shadow Meghan. When even the straight-laced press joins the mockery, you know the narrative has officially slipped out of her hands. At every single turn, the harder Meghan's team tried to bury the chatter, the louder it bounced back, echoing like a drumbeat they couldn't silence. And here came the domino effect. Once the age rumor caught fire again, people didn't just stop at her birth year, and they started dragging out every shady detail from her past. Suddenly, old questions about Archie's edited birth certificate were back on the table. Photos from her early acting days, some mysteriously missing, others suddenly reappearing at just the right time, got re-examined under fresh suspicion. Even her 2011 Jamaican wedding to Trevor Engelson, something most thought was ancient history, was pulled back into the spotlight. Critics began asking whether that timeline even lines up with the official biography she's been selling to the world.
Someday Meghan's going to realize that she's obviously missing out.
I think when I was 30, if I thought about 50, I thought that is an awful long way away. And I don't really need to think about it. And then I blinked and I'm 50. That's crazy.
And now, rival journalists are combing through dusty public archives like detectives, hunting down every scrap of paperwork tied to Meghan's past. The irony? The more Meghan pushes this narrative of transparency, the more opaque her history looks. Fans who once swore she was just a victim of royal cruelty are now calling her the architect of her own downfall. This isn't palace bullying. One viral YouTube commentator declared, "This is Meghan being sloppy with her own receipts." That line went everywhere, and it flipped the script completely. Instead of defending her, people are now treating her like a case study in overbranding. A duchess who tried to control every single narrative but couldn't manage to control the most basic fact of all, her own birthday. And here's the brutal truth. In Hollywood, that's fatal. If audiences can't trust the backstory, they stop believing the performance, and Meghan's brand has always been one long performance. But the sting in the tail? This scandal doesn't just haunt Meghan anymore, it's creeping into her business deals. Insiders claim streaming platforms and publishers are quietly panicking. If her memoir, her Netflix specials, or her documentaries lean on a shaky timeline, they could all be discredited by the very memes currently dominating TikTok. In an industry built on authenticity, even the perception of dishonesty is poison. And Meghan is learning fast. Once the internet decides you're lying, no palace spin or Hollywood gloss can stitch your reputation back together.
August 4th, 40 years ago, Meghan was born, and she was born as a C-section, so she was put in my...
One rumor can be brushed off, one meme can be ignored, but receipts, those stick forever. And Meghan Markle's own paper trail is now shifting under scrutiny. The most damning piece, Archie's birth certificate. When her son was born in 2019, the official record listed Meghan's full name, Rachel Meghan Markle. Totally normal, totally standard, but just weeks later, that same certificate was amended. Her given names were erased, swapped out for a cold title. Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. Who even does that? Birth certificates aren't Instagram bios. They don't get aesthetic edits. Yet her son's legal record was literally rewritten. Reports suggest palace protocols forced the change. Critics insist Meghan herself demanded it. Either way, it shattered trust. Because if her child's document can be altered, what else in Meghan's world is flexible? That question ripped open a floodgate. Suddenly, alumni records and old classmates popped up with even more inconsistencies. Some graduates listed dates nearly a decade earlier than Meghan's official timeline. One alumni thread even claimed they remembered Meghan at events in the late 1980s, when she should have still been in grade school. By the time the whispers about Meghan's age reached Buckingham Palace, the damage was already spreading like wildfire. But inside the palace walls, this wasn't just juicy gossip. It was a nightmare unfolding in slow motion. According to insiders, royal aides had raised quiet red flags years ago.
Well, that's her first wedding in Jamaica. That's one of my favorite pictures. I'd like to have that experience with my granddaughter.
During the vetting process before Meghan's wedding, staff reportedly noticed certain documents didn't line up with her official timeline. At the time, they chose diplomacy over drama. But now those old suspicions have clawed their way back into the spotlight, and they're haunting the monarchy all over again. Let's rewind. When Megyn joined the royal family in 2018, the palace prided itself on handling every detail with military precision. Every spouse is checked, every background scrutinized, every box ticked. The crown survives on trust, not just from the British public, but from the world. So when aides allegedly stumbled upon inconsistencies in Megyn's records, eyebrows shot up instantly. Her listed age didn't perfectly match alumni chatter, and small date gaps in her Hollywood resume didn't align. Nothing concrete enough to block the wedding, but more than enough to raise questions. And those questions, they never truly went away. Fast forward to today. With TikTok theories trending and journalists digging through dusty yearbooks, palace insiders are now whispering that they feel vindicated. "We flagged this back then," one source allegedly said, but no one wanted another Diana situation. Translation: the royal family wasn't willing to spark a war with the press by questioning Megyn's image. Instead, they smoothed it over, hoping no one outside the palace would notice. But the internet always notices eventually, and that's the dangerous irony. By ignoring the small cracks, the palace might have helped create the avalanche. Now, critics aren't just side-eyeing Megyn, they're side-eyeing the entire institution. Did Buckingham Palace knowingly cover for her? Did they turn a blind eye for the sake of optics? And if they ignored suspicious documents once, what else have they ignored? These are the questions fueling the fire, and they hit at the monarchy's most fragile weak spot, public trust. The internet has been merciless. Memes don't just mock Megyn anymore, they roast the palace too. A viral TikTok joked, "If Buckingham Palace can't keep track of Megyn's birthday, how are they supposed to keep track of the Commonwealth?" Another tweet quipped, "First Diana, then Andrew, now Megyn's age. The royals couldn't fact-check a library card if their lives depended on it." The laughter stings, but the underlying message is dead serious. The monarchy looks sloppy, and sloppiness is poison for an institution built on tradition and credibility. And here's where it gets even messier. The palace's official silence is being read as guilt. Instead of shutting down the rumors with hard evidence, Buckingham Palace has done what it always does in times of scandal: stay quiet. But in the age of viral clips and instant memes, silence doesn't look like strength, it looks like surrender. Fans are already filling the vacuum with conspiracy theories, saying the palace knows Megyn's records don't add up but is too scared to admit it. One viral Reddit thread even suggested the palace has an unspoken deal with Megyn. Don't expose us, and we won't expose you. Whether true or not, the fact that people believe it shows just how fragile the monarchy's image has become. Meanwhile, Megyn's team hasn't helped her case. Every attempt at spin backfires. When her PR blamed clerical errors for the amended birth certificate, critics pounced. One commentator snapped, "Clerical errors? On a royal document? That's like saying Big Ben runs a few minutes slow." The palace might have hoped this explanation would calm the waters, but instead it added fuel. Because if even royal records can be rewritten with the stroke of a pen, what else is up for negotiation? The domino effect is brutal. Netflix executives are allegedly growing nervous about her projects. Imagine dropping millions on a docuseries that leans heavily on her official story, only for viewers to point out timeline inconsistencies in the very first episode. Publishing insiders are reportedly jittery too. Megyn's memoir is positioned as a tale of resilience and authenticity. But what happens if authenticity itself is the very thing in doubt? The risk isn't just embarrassment, it's financial. Nobody wants to bankroll a narrative the internet has already shredded with memes. And let's not forget Hollywood. In an industry where actors lie about their age all the time, Megyn's case is being treated differently. Why? Because she's not just an actress anymore, she's a duchess. And with that title comes the expectation of transparency. As one producer put it bluntly, it's one thing to shave years off for casting. It's another to marry into royalty with a resume full of edits. Ouch. What's even more damaging is how quickly Megyn's image has flipped. Just a few years ago, she was painted as the outsider who bravely challenged the crown, a victim of cruel tabloids and stiff royal traditions. But today, that same public is rebranding her as the mastermind of her own mess. The sympathy is drying up. In its place, a brutal kind of mockery. Her brand has always thrived on being relatable, authentic, just like us. But the more inconsistencies pile up, the more people see her as manipulative, curated, and fake. The jokes about her being a royal actress or Hollywood duchess aren't just playful digs anymore. They're shaping her reputation in real time. And once an audience feels they've been duped, they rarely forgive. But here's the real danger. This scandal has now crossed over from gossip to legacy. For the Monarchy, it's not just about Meghan's birthday. It's about whether they can survive yet another credibility crisis. For Meghan, it's not just about PR. It's about whether her entire empire of branding, memoirs, and Netflix deals can hold up under the weight of receipts. And for both sides, the stakes couldn't be higher, because once the internet decides you're fake, the label sticks. And no amount of palace silence or Hollywood gloss can wash it off. One photo started this fire, one certificate poured gasoline, and now the blaze is threatening to engulf both Meghan and the monarchy she married into. The question is no longer, how old is Meghan Markle? The question is, how much of Meghan Markle's story is real at all? Sources close to the digging claim journalists have uncovered not one, not two, but 3 different birth years tied to Meghan Markle. 1975, 1979, and the official 1981. On paper, 1981 remains the official version, but critics point out ordinary people don't just wake up with 3 birthdays floating around in public records. That's not a clerical slip-up, that's a pattern, and a pattern suggests intent, a deliberate reshaping of time itself. And then there's the vanishing act. Meghan's early photos don't exist the way most people's do, scattered across family albums, tagged in random Facebook uploads, hidden in dusty shoeboxes. Instead, her past pops up in curated waves. A yearbook shot here, a salsa club photo there, a carefully chosen wedding picture from Jamaica. They don't feel like natural memories. They feel like assets released on schedule, almost like someone behind the curtain decides when the world gets to see each snapshot. To insiders, this selective rollout screams strategy. To critics, it reeks of obsession, insecurity, and something far darker: control. Because a normal life leaves clutter, awkward school photos, unflattering candid shots, moments we'd rather forget but can't erase. Meghan's timeline feels scrubbed, cleaned, and edited like a Hollywood reel. And that's the real kicker. Her past looks less like history, more like production. The revelations only piled higher once her legal battles started dragging old receipts back into daylight. Remember Samantha Markle's defamation case? What should have been a private family spat turned into a courtroom microscope. Suddenly, Meghan's credibility wasn't just tabloid fodder, it was evidence. Lawyers unearthed inconsistencies, headlines spread like wildfire, and before long, the age rumors weren't just gossip anymore. They were courtroom questions. And the irony? Meghan's lawsuits, meant to silence her critics, gave them megaphones. Each time she dragged someone into court, fresh scrutiny followed. Each time, whispers that once lived in obscure forums found new legitimacy. And suddenly, what had been dismissed as jealous chatter was mainstream news. The picture forming now is brutal. A duchess who carefully edits documents, curates her photo trail, and allegedly shaves years off her own life story. A woman desperate for the world to buy into her fairy tale, but leaving behind receipts that tell an entirely different tale. And once those receipts leak into the public, they're impossible to scrub. Meghan's brand isn't just scratched, it's collapsing under the sheer weight of her own edits. But here's the nightmare scenario critics won't stop whispering about. What if Meghan Markle didn't just trim a few years off her Hollywood resume? What if she actually fooled the monarchy? In Hollywood, age fudging is practically tradition. Stars have been lying about birthdays since the Golden Studio era, shaving off years to land ingenue roles. But Meghan didn't stop at chasing casting directors. She married into royalty. And royalty isn't casual. It's built on records, bloodlines, legitimacy. If her age is off by even 5 or 6 years, the implications are catastrophic. Because then Buckingham Palace wasn't just welcoming a glamorous American actress, they were welcoming a lie. And that lie slipped straight into the history books, and that transforms what could have been dismissed as a vanity fib into a royal-level scandal. Royals don't just tell stories. Royals become the stories future generations read. Birth years aren't supposed to be rumors. They're supposed to be carved in stone. That's why insiders say palace staff were uneasy from the start. Reports suggest that when discrepancies popped up during the background checks, they were quietly smoothed over rather than confronted. Why? Because exposure would have been nuclear. Imagine the headlines. Royal family duped by American actress. Fake biography at the heart of the monarchy. It wouldn't just be humiliating, it would be legacy-shattering, a monarchy already battered by Diana's war with the crown, Prince Andrew's disgrace, and Harry's defection couldn't afford another hit. So the palace allegedly did what it always does when faced with danger. Protect the institution at all costs. Better to bury the paperwork, spin the narrative, and pray no one ever looked too closely. But that gamble has backfired. Now, instead of whispers fading away, the cover-up itself has become part of the scandal. Because once the internet suspects you of hiding something, they don't stop digging, they dig deeper. And Meghan's contradictions keep giving them reasons to dig. Each year that surfaces, 1975, 1979, 1981 is another crack in her timeline. Each missing photo, another hole in the story. Each reappearing snapshot, another clue in what looks less like a life lived and more like a life manufactured. Even her defenders are finding it hard to spin. One former fan admitted on Twitter, "I supported Megyn through everything, but this age thing, it's too weird. Normal people don't rewrite birth certificates and scrub photos." And that's the core of the problem. Megyn wanted the world to see her as relatable, authentic, a modern duchess rewriting the monarchy's dusty script. Instead, people are starting to see her as manipulative, curated, a Hollywood player dressed in royal titles. The contrast is devastating. Royals are supposed to represent permanence, tradition, and unshakable records. Megyn represents edits, ambiguity, and shifting timelines. That collision creates a scandal far bigger than gossip blogs. It cuts into the heart of the monarchy's credibility. Because when history books are written, they don't ask, "What did TikTok say?" They ask, "What year was she born?" And if that answer depends on which receipt you pull, the monarchy isn't just embarrassed, it's exposed. For Megyn, the cost is personal. Her brand depends on selling authenticity, resilience, and empowerment. But the internet has decided her backstory doesn't hold up. And in today's culture, once you're labeled a fraud, the stain never fades. Netflix deals, book tours, Hollywood speaking gigs, all of it sits on shaky ground if the foundation is questioned. And for the crown, the cost is generational. If Megyn's timeline is proven to be a facade, critics won't just laugh at her. They'll laugh at the monarchy for letting it happen. And laughter, in the long run, is far deadlier to an institution than outrage. Outrage fades, mockery sticks. So now we're left with the ugliest question of all. What if the fairy tale was fake from the very beginning? A duchess accused of rewriting her own life story isn't just a tabloid scandal, it's a permanent stain on the crown. And critics argue that's exactly why the palace looked the other way, hoping no one would crunch the numbers. But numbers don't stay buried online. Digital sleuths are dissecting every new appearance, every resurfaced photo, every official document with edits that look more suspicious by the day. Fans are lining up Megyn's supposed timeline against royal milestones, pointing out how certain official dates just don't align with public events. One viral TikTok hit millions of views claiming Megyn shaved 6 years off her age to appear younger than Prince Harry. That theory exploded across Reddit threads, with users posting blunt takes like, "If that's true, she wasn't the fresh new face of the monarchy, she was playing catch-up." That framing stuck fast. And it's brutal because it paints Megyn not as a victim of palace cruelty, but as an actress staging the biggest role of her life, the Duchess of Deception. And the ripple effect? It doesn't stop at memes. In Hollywood, reputation fuels money, and Megyn's brand was built on authenticity. She sold herself as the modern royal who told the truth while the palace lied. But if she can't even be transparent about something as basic as her birthday, that entire narrative falls apart. Streaming giants like Netflix, who shelled out millions for her projects, suddenly risk being tied to a brand collapsing under suspicion. Publishers eyeing future memoirs face the same nightmare. How do you sell truth when the receipts don't add up? The cultural context makes it sting even worse. Hollywood has always punished women for aging. Everyone knows actresses shave years off to land younger roles. But royalty was supposed to be different. Royalty was supposed to be untouchable. Megyn claims she was breaking barriers, bringing a modern energy to a dusty crown. But if she really lied about her age, she didn't break the system, she bent to it. Instead of challenging ageism, she allegedly embraced it, shaving years to sell herself as fresher, younger, more marketable. And that irony? It's devastating. The Duchess who promised truth now risks being remembered only for performance. Here's the brutal truth about rumors. Once they take root, they're almost impossible to kill. And Meghan Markle has become the perfect case study. Every lawsuit, every carefully staged photo release, every amended document reopens the vault. Instead of silencing her critics, she feeds them. It's a cycle she can't escape because the moment her name hits headlines, the internet digs again. Out comes the salsa club photo. Alumni records get reposted, whispers about Archie's birth certificate reignite, and the same question keeps echoing. If Meghan's age is this messy, what else has been rewritten? For fans, the fallout is personal. Many feel betrayed. They defended her against palace cruelty, only to realize the Duchess they supported might be guilty of her own manipulation. On TikTok, one viral comment summed it up perfectly. "We thought she was the victim. Turns out she might be the director of the whole play. That sting fuels the obsession." Because people don't just laugh at Megyn anymore, they dissect her like a puzzle box. Every inconsistency is treated as another missing piece, and the more she dodges, the harder they dig. And for the industry, the fallout is financial. Netflix, Spotify, publishers, all of them invested millions into Meghan and Harry's brand. But authenticity is the product, and when authenticity collapses, so does the money. Insiders already hint that executives are wary. The fear isn't just that Meghan's projects flop, it's that they'll become cultural jokes, remembered not as groundbreaking royal confessions, but as case studies in overproduced fiction. Hollywood has tolerated actresses lying about their age for decades, but Meghan wasn't just an actress anymore. She married into a monarchy, and by allegedly playing the same game, she risks dragging two worlds down together: the palace and the platform. That's the cultural sting. Meghan wanted her legacy to be barrier-breaking. But the story now being written is darker. The Duchess with the missing years, the woman whose age became her undoing, and it's the kind of irony history loves. The woman who branded herself as a champion of truth might end up remembered for the one lie she couldn't control. Whether she's 42, 46, or even older, the perception sticks. Meghan Markle has something to hide. And in the age of viral receipts, perception is fatal. The internet doesn't wait for proof. It decides, it memes, and it moves on, leaving its target branded forever. So what happens next? Maybe Meghan goes public with proof, maybe she locks her records tighter. Either way, the scandal isn't fading, it's snowballing. From personal gossip to royal embarrassment to full-on cultural cautionary tale. Meghan wanted a fairy tale ending. What she might get instead is a footnote in history. The Duchess who built her empire on edits and illusions. And that's the fallout. Not just the age rumors, but the trust they've shattered. If Meghan Markle's alleged age edits can rewrite royal history, imagine what other secrets are still waiting to explode. Don't miss it. Subscribe now, smash that like button, share this breakdown, drop a comment with your thoughts, and I'll see you on the next one.